Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
There is a revolution going on in global finance. One of the big effects of Trump, one of the big effects of MAGA, called the currency swap. After World War II, when the U.S. was the only country in the world that had any power, the world as a whole set up the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and they set up the World Bank at the same time, and there was an informal agreement that the U.S. would control the World Bank and the Europeans would control the International Monetary Fund. And that has continued straight through. And whenever a nation's currency is in trouble and the nation's economy cannot sustain the amount of money the country has printed, they always turn to the IMF and ask for a bailout. And the IMF always sets really stringent standards of reform, of austerity, of cracking down on overspending, of cutting out deficits, and then comes through with the loan to the country.
Who runs this thing? Who's the head
a European,
honcho?
I forget the name of the guy now, but chosen by the Europeans, a European banker.
Do all the countries that are in it vote on if United States is going to get money or England?
Yes. Well, on whether England's going.
Is it a simple majority? Is it?
Yeah, but a client of mine, Rajoy, who used to be the Prime Minister of Spain, was the chairman of the IMF, and increasingly, and the view was that the U.S. would leave it alone. The IMF would control the currency, and when the Southern European currencies, like Greece and Italy and Spain, began to falter in the face of the euro and Britain, and the IMF came to the rescue. Now, Trump has changed that system in a dramatic and fundamental way and basically reworked this financial system that has existed since the end of World War II. When Milei, the president of Argentina, needed help with his currency, because of years of incredible inflation, 200, 300% inflation. He turned to the IMF like they always have, and the IMF made all sorts of demands. Then he turned to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump said, no, I don't agree with the IMF. I think you ought to be able to, I think you need austerity, you need to cut the overspending, you need to balance your budget, and if you do that, I will give you the money. I will eliminate the need for the IMF. We'll have what we call a currency swap.
I call it loan sharking.
You give me Argentine pesos and I'll give you dollars. And Milei said, that is great. And Trump said, you go ahead and make the reforms you have in mind. Rip apart the Argentine economy. Cast it along less regulation, free market, government principles, just like I'm doing in America. And I will make sure that you have the currency to cushion yourself as you go through this change. And Milei said, really? And he said, yep, absolutely. And then Milei ran for parliament, and his party went from very small to dominating Argentina. That precedent of currency swap is now spreading throughout the world. And Trump is increasingly telling countries, forget the IMF. Forget the European bankers.
Wow.
Just deal with us. And the standard as to whether we'll bail you out and whether we won't bail you out, we'll swap.
What's the standard?
We'll give you some of our dollars in return for your local currency. The standard is, do you like the U.S.? Do you help us? Do you do our bidding? Do you vote with us?
Will you put up a Trump tower?
No, are you good on tariffs? What are you doing to help American policy? And he really set that up as a criterion. Are you pro-American? Are you willing to really listen to the guidance from the U.S.? And these countries have basically said yes. And many of them have adopted the dollar as their primary currency. There are U.S. dollar swaps with Gulf nations, with Asian partners, and
then you got regional reserve pools. What is that?
That's the same thing. It's saying we're going to take the currencies in your area and we're going to replace them with the dollar. Or we're going to swap dollars for them. And sometimes we'll do this on a temporary basis. Sometimes we'll do it on a permanent basis. And the trend had been de-dollarization, withdrawing from the dollar and having these countries work off a market basket, they call it, of other currencies and become closer to the yuan and other currencies like that. But Trump has said, do the exact opposite. Become closer to the United States. Become our allies in all ways. Become very subservient to us. Do what we want.
Did Milei ever get the dollarization he was going for? I know he ran on that.
This replaces it.
This replaces that, because that's what he wanted to do.
He wanted to replace it in Argentina, replace the peso with the dollar. Instead, what he's done is by swapping pesos for dollars with the U.S., he's basically converted Argentina to the dollar.
And what does that mean? That we now have pesos and we can go buy their stuff with their pesos?
No,
what does this mean?
No, it means that we give him money in return for our money. And we basically stabilize their currency, which is a kind word for saying we make it American. Mm-hmm. And Trump
the dollar stays strong in South America.
The dollar stays strong, and Trump has taken over the world. Mm-hmm. Increasingly, these countries are not concerned about what the European bankers say, but about what the U.S. says.
Sure.
It's a dramatic, unbelievable change. So the goal is to reverse dependence on U.S. dollar funding, the willingness of the IMF to sometimes help, sometimes not, and Western-controlled financial networks. Instead, replace it with bilateral currency swaps between the U.S. and these countries, regional reserve pools, which are regional efforts to stabilize the currencies, and get rid of the BRICS, get rid of the effort to replace the dollar, and instead replace the IMF. I can't tell you how fundamental and enormous that change is.
Wow.
And yet it's coming. So in these first two stories today, one is the collapse really of Britain and the growth in Britain of Trump-like reforms. MAGA spreads across the Atlantic Ocean is really what the local British elections are about. And here MAGA is replacing the IMF and the idea of the Europeans controlling the currencies. And it's increasingly going to be a matter of American control.
What country do you think will be after England? Italy?
No, I mean, I think it's hard to tell. The IMF routinely lends out large amounts of money to small countries. And I think you're going to see a lot of that throughout Africa and throughout Asia.
Wow. It's unbelievable. Well,
no.
Are you ready? You ready for On the Rocks?
Okay.
Okay, let's have Roxana on. And how you doing, Roxana?
Hi, Dick. Hi, Dad.
Hey,
She always says hi, Dick, first. What's with that, Roxana?
Good afternoon. We'll switch it up a little bit. But bombshell, left-wing organization, tech organization, pays full salaries of 80 MSM, mainstream media, journalists.
Oh.
If you want to talk about media corruption, how about the discovery that a left-wing political organization has embedded 80 journalists in the corporate media? Breitbart News has previously reported on LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman's dark money election meddling, as well as Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz, deep penetration of President Joe Biden's administration with AI activists. Behind this corruption is a far-left globalist organization called EA, Effective Altruism, which the New York Post describes as a billionaire-backed movement, quote, that aims to solve the world's problems, which wants to send the message that unchecked AI will destroy us all, and that we must prioritize causes like climate change, global health, poverty, and pandemics. more journalists have become freelance and left-winged, living this quote that was written in 1887, 140 years ago, by Lord Acton. He wrote a note to Bishop Bandel Creighton, quote, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." Lord Acton was known for his lifelong study of the history of freedom and unchecked power. It was a work he never completed. And so here we are.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible.
But on this day, just as a little side note, in 1803, the patent for the reaping machine for agriculture was patented by John Hawkins. So that was something very big.
The start really of the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
It began with fabrics and with the ability to manufacture shirts and
The loom
clothing,
and
the
all that
looms.
stuff, sure.
And that
The
in turn led
5S.
to the cotton gin.
What is this, Roxana?
Not only George Washington quoted about how important it was, but so did Reagan, who was very involved. The 5Fs, which is food, fiber, fuel, forestry, and flowers. It's all under the roof of agriculture, and it actually fuels everything in the country every day, living for everyday people, which is nutrition, clothing, energy, aesthetics, millions of jobs, millions of companies, and mom and pop, too. I mean, people don't realize that agriculture, the farming of certain things, creates not only power, but clothing and fuel, just forestry. It's just amazing. So,
hey, there's Sean Spicer on TV, Dick. We just
good.
went to his thing the other night.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rock.
you.
That
Thank
was
you, Rock.
fantastic. Thank you. And but soon we're having. Oh, by the way, Roxana, say hello to Sandra while you're still on.
hi, Sandra.
She's not here, but she's listening. Because we're going to have her on. Not yet. Don't put her on yet. Because we're going to have Bruce Blakeman on. And I'm going to talk about Hochul later. And then Sandra could talk about that. So
Take care, Rock. Thank you.
thank you, Rock. Okay, so Republicans redistricting. Democrats ramp up aggressive 27 gerrymander drive. What to know? Republicans were initially on the redistricting roll after a Supreme Court decision. 4 southern states are wavering on GOP redistricting.
What happened here, as you've been following, is that there was a lawsuit by the Republican Party saying that it was unconstitutional to have congressional district lines based on race. And the Justice Department had been forcing states to gerrymander based on race to create districts that did not represent communities. Some of them were just incredible gerrymanders stretching over miles and cooking and turning to try to get black voters to get the majority of the vote. And the result was that in the 1970s, in the 80s and 90s, the Democratic vote in the South became channeled into 20 or 30 congressional districts that were majority-minority districts. It was all based on the assumption that white voters would never vote for a black candidate, and that to elect blacks to office proportionally, you needed to gerrymander the districts so that they were majority-minority districts. Well, last week, the Supreme Court said that's illegal. It's unconstitutional. You can't take account of race in gerrymandering, drawing district lines. You can take account of party, make it more Democrat, more Republican, but you can't take account to make it blacker or whiter. So that tossed the hot potato into the 2027 election, the 2026 election coming up. And states said, wait a minute, we need to redistrict now because we're following the unconstitutional mandates that the court just overruled. But many governors said, no, we're not going to do that. We're way ahead in our elections. We planned this election. We printed the ballots. In some cases, we've accepted absentee ballots.
But now it's illegal, though.
In some cases, we've even had primaries. and therefore we're not changing. But Trump has been saying, come on, you can't put the convenience of election cycle and reprinting ballots over the issue of constitutionality.
Excuse me, Dick, to correct you. Dick Morris said that, and then Trump said that.
Yeah, I did. And basically Democrats came back and said, let us have one more unconstitutional election. We know that these lines are unconstitutional. We know that they're illegal. We know that we have to change them next year, but that's next year's problem. This year, let us have one more election under these old lines.
Let's kick the pail.
And the issue has been, would they do that? Now there are 6 seats that are at issue, 4 in Mississippi and Louisiana, 4 in Alabama and Louisiana, 1 in Mississippi and 1 in South Carolina.
Well, here, let me go with this.
That are at issue.
The Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves signaled Wednesday that he would cancel a special legislative session that would have drawn the state Supreme Court districts and possibly its racially gerrymandered congressional districts ahead of the midterm election. In South Carolina...
Just up there, in Mississippi, Tate Reeves, the governor, is trying to protect Benny Thompson, who is the chairman of the J6 committee. And Thompson is from a district in Jackson, Mississippi, and would never have won if it were not for gerrymandered lines. And he's trying to protect him. And he's a Republican conservative. He shouldn't be, but he is.
He's a rhino, basically.
Well, he isn't, but Trump is going to drive him crazy if he hasn't changed. Trump is going to take that story and go crazy.
Good. So in South Carolina, the Republican-led state Senate blocked a resolution Tuesday that would have cleared the way for lawmakers to consider a new map that would have redrawn congressional seats held by James Clyburn, a black Democrat. Republicans are stronger when the Democrat Party is vibrant and viable, State Majority Leader Shane Massey, a Republican, said on the floor.
Clyburn is also very important. Clyburn was the only black congressman from South Carolina, the only Republican. And the only Democrat, the whole state is Republican. And in the last presidential election in 2016, Joe Biden lost a lot of the primaries, all the primaries. Nobody voted for him. But the party leadership wanted Biden to be the candidate. And they forced Kamala Harris and various other people out of the race. And the guy that did that was James Clyburn, a congressman from South Carolina. Because he said, I'm going to South Carolina, moved its primary date to a week before Super Tuesday. And the theory was that if Clyburn could deliver South Carolina, blacks throughout the South would get the signal that they had to support Joe Biden. And they did exactly that. And that's how Joe Biden got the nomination. It's how he got the election. It's how he got to waste 4 years of our lives as president.
All right.
And now the opportunity has come up to get rid of Clyburn. And,
so anyway, the next one is the law.
And the governor of South Carolina, a guy named Henry McMaster, is refusing to redraw the lines. And it's going to be, and if he continues in that role, Clyburn is going to keep his seat for 2 more years, even though it's illegal and unconstitutional.
Wow. So, and Louisiana and Alabama voted to redraw their congressional maps to eliminate the racially gerrymandered districts, but each Republican-led legislature created only one additional Republican-leaning seat instead of 2 seats in each state, as some in the party had hoped. In all, Republicans are poised to forego carving out 4 additional seats that would likely favor Republican congressional candidates in November, as the parties battle to cling its razor-thin majority in the House. The South is really dropping the ball. Election analysis Ryan Gerdusky posted on social media. Republicans slowed their redistricting scramble as Democrats plotted a counterattack in 27.
Yeah, good luck with that, guys.
Yeah.
But the counterattack is bull.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. But the point is that we really have a chance now to completely change the House of Representatives in this minority-majority decision. And these 4 governors KIV in Alabama,
Louisiana.
Henry McAndrew. I'm sorry.
I don't know what it is either.
Tate Reeves in Mississippi.
Yeah.
McHenry in South Carolina, and these 4 governors.
Yeah, Louisiana, Alabama also.
Jeff Landry in Louisiana.
Right.
These 4 governors must not stand in the way of the reapportionment that's necessary. And President Trump said, don't let partisan convenience stand in the way of constitutionality. And the Democrats are sort of saying, come on, guys, just let us have one more election, and we promise we'll be good. We promise in the future we'll abide by the court decision. And these governors need incredible pressure to change their point of view and say, no, we are not going to consciously ask voters to vote for a Congress that the court has just ruled is unconstitutional.
Yeah, right. And Hakeem Jeffrey, he thinks he's going to win this thing. The effort is not over. This is him talking. It's just getting started. He pledged a decisive and forceful response to the recent Republican gerrymandering in the South, assuring reporters who questioned him about the Democrats' extensive redistricting plans. I'm telling you now, this is him again, we will the party aggressive partisanship. Oh, no, I'm telling you now, we will win this. That's what he said. Then the party's aggressive partisan gerrymandering in prior decades have left Democrats with few avenues to carve away Republican-leaning districts. But they plan to squeeze out additional seats in New York, Jersey, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Illinois, Maryland.
These are the flailings of a dying political party.
You ain't kidding.
The only reason the Democrats have any power in the House is because of this racially based district. And the court has pulled out the rug from under them. And the issue is, will the Republican governors let the rug be pulled out, or will the special interests of their relationships with Clyburn in South Carolina and with Benny Thompson in Mississippi stop the Republican governors from enforcing the Supreme Court decisions this year, right now?
Right. Jersey Senate President Nick Scuderi was talking about it too, but you're right. They're not going anywhere. Gotta love it. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about something with the White House.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.